He managed the largest empire on Earth. He fought wars on multiple fronts. He survived a plague that killed 5 million of his own citizens. He lost several of his children. He governed 70 million people from a position of absolute power, and yet he is remembered not primarily as a conqueror or a ruler, but as a philosopher, a man of extraordinary moral character, someone who, despite having every reason to become corrupted, vain, or lazy, spent his entire reign trying to become better. The question that should stop you cold is this: how? What did Marcus Aurelius actually do every single day that produced that kind of character under that kind of pressure? The answer is not talent. It is not genius. It is not a privileged upbringing, although he had that. It is not even intelligence alone, though he had that too. The answer, documented in his own handwriting in a private journal he never intended anyone to read, is habit. Specifically, what he did in the morning. Before the empire demanded his attention, before the petitions and the wars and the political maneuvering, before the world got to him. What follows are 10 morning habits drawn directly from the Meditations and from the historical record of how Marcus Aurelius lived. Habits that cost nothing, require no special circumstances, and are available to you starting tomorrow morning. He fought the bed. This is where it starts, and it starts honestly. Marcus Aurelius was not a natural early riser. His biographer Frank McLynn documented that he was an insomniac who genuinely hated getting out of bed, a serious social liability in Roman culture, where rising early was considered a marker of virtue and discipline. So what did he do? He argued himself out of bed. In Book 5 of the Meditations, he writes to himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for?" He did not wait for motivation to arrive. He generated it through reasoning. The practical application is direct. Before you reach for your phone tomorrow morning, ask yourself one question. What was I born to do today? Not what am I scheduled to do? What am I here for? The answer does not need to be grand. It needs to be true. He prepared for difficult people before meeting them. One of the most famous passages in all of the Meditations is actually a morning practice. It opens Book 2. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. At first reading, this sounds like cynicism. It is the opposite. Marcus was performing what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity, and he was applying it specifically to human interaction. By naming in advance the exact kinds of people and behaviors he was likely to encounter, he was stripping those encounters of their capacity to surprise him. When the difficult colleague arrived at his door mid-morning, his brain had already processed it. It was expected terrain, not a hijack. The practical version? Spend 2 minutes each morning thinking honestly about the 1 or 2 interactions today that could derail you emotionally. Name them. Decide in advance how a calm, reasonable person would respond. You will not be perfect, but you will be far less reactive than if you had never thought about it at all. He reminded himself that being alive was a privilege, not a given. Also in the Meditations, Marcus writes, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This is not the generic gratitude practice you have seen on wellness apps. This is a Stoic practice with a specific philosophical purpose. It is grounded in the awareness that none of it was guaranteed. Marcus had lost several children. He had survived a plague. He understood viscerally, not abstractly, that the person who woke up today might not wake up tomorrow. The Stoic name for this awareness is memento mori, remember that you will die. And rather than being morbid, it functions as an attention clarifier of extraordinary power. Research published in the journal Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin has found that mortality awareness, when engaged with deliberately rather than avoided, consistently increases the perceived value of present-moment experiences and reduces trivial preoccupation. Marcus was practicing this every morning, 1,800 years before the study was published. He wrote before the world could speak first. The Meditations itself is the evidence for this habit. Historians believe that much of the journal was written in the early hours of the morning, often while Marcus was stationed at military camps far from Rome. He wrote not to produce philosophy for others, but to process his own thinking, to put his values on paper before the day's demands could erode them. This practice of morning writing served two distinct functions. First, it clarified his intentions. What kind of person did he want to be today, specifically given what he knew about the day ahead? Second, it created accountability. A thought that has been written down is harder to abandon than one that remains vague. The science supports this precisely. Research from the Dominican University of California found that people who wrote down their goals were 42% more likely to achieve them than those who did not. Marcus did not know that statistic. He knew, from experience, that writing made his philosophy real in a way that thinking alone did not. He read philosophy before reading anything else. At the beginning of his Meditations, Marcus thanks his teacher Junius Rusticus for teaching him to read attentively, not to be satisfied with just getting the gist of something, but to read carefully, slowly, and with the intent to extract something applicable. We know from his writings that Stoic texts, particularly those of Epictetus, were central to his intellectual formation. The morning reading practice of the Stoics was not about information consumption. It was about perspective recalibration, exposing the mind to a framework of values before exposing it to the noise of the day. Today, this translates to a single specific habit. Before you open any news source, any social media platform, or any work communication, read one page, just one, of something philosophically substantive. Not to become an expert, to set the frequency of your thinking before the algorithm sets it for you. He practiced voluntary discomfort. Marcus Aurelius did not sleep in luxury. Historical accounts confirm that he slept on simple bedding and avoided the excess that characterized many Roman emperors. This was not poverty, it was a deliberate practice. The Stoics, following their teacher Musonius Rufus, believed that the person who has never experienced voluntary hardship is unprepared for involuntary hardship. By choosing, regularly and deliberately, to do without something comfortable, you are training your nervous system to understand that discomfort is survivable. The modern version of this does not require sleeping on a hard floor. It requires choosing, each morning, one small act of voluntary difficulty: a cold shower, skipping the first cup of coffee until you have completed your most important task, getting up 10 minutes earlier than feels comfortable. The specifics matter less than the principle. Every small act of chosen difficulty strengthens the same psychological muscle you will need when life presents you with unchosen difficulty, and it will. He reflected on his nature as a rational being. This habit sounds abstract until you understand what it was protecting against. Every morning, Epictetus, whose teachings Marcus studied closely, instructed his students to remind themselves of a single fact: you are a rational creature, not an animal ruled by impulse, not a machine driven by circumstance, a being with the specific capacity to pause between stimulus and response and choose. Marcus returned to this idea constantly in the Meditations, writing variations of it across multiple books. The practical function of this morning reflection is to establish before the chaos of the day begins what kind of creature you are, and therefore what kind of responses are available to you. When you remind yourself each morning that you have the capacity for reasoned choice, you make it slightly more likely that you will exercise it when provoked. Slightly more likely, multiplied by 365 days, produces a measurably different person. He focused on one thing at a time. Marcus Aurelius was managing an empire that covered most of the known world, fighting wars on the Danube frontier, overseeing Roman law, and writing philosophy in his spare hours. He could not afford cognitive fragmentation. In the Meditations, he writes with striking specificity about the danger of the scattered mind. People who labor all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought and impulse toward are wasting their time, even when hard at work. His morning practice included setting a single clear intention for the day, not a list of tasks, but a directional commitment. What is the one thing today that matters most? What deserves the best of your attention? This question, asked and answered honestly in the morning, functions as a filter for everything else that follows. Modern cognitive science describes this as implementation intention. The research, published in the journal Psychological Bulletin, shows that people who specify what they intend to do and when are 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through than those who simply set a goal without that specificity. He reminded himself what was and was not in his control. This is the foundational practice of Stoicism, and Marcus applied it every single day. In the Meditations, he returns to the dichotomy of control, the distinction between what is up to you and what is not, with a frequency that makes clear it was a daily practice, not an occasional insight. Each morning, he would mentally review the day ahead and sort its contents. What can I influence and what must I accept? His judgments, his intentions, his responses, these were his. The weather, other people's behavior, the outcome of battles, the course of the plague, these were not. This sorting exercise, performed before the day begins, has a specific and measurable effect. It reduces the psychological load of the day significantly, because you have already decided, in advance, not to expend energy on the things you cannot change. You have pre-committed to focusing only where you can actually have an effect. That is not resignation. That is the most efficient use of a human mind that has ever been systematically described. He set an intention for who he would be, not just what he would do. This is the habit that unifies all the others, and it is the one most absent from modern morning routines. Most people plan their mornings around tasks, what they need to accomplish, where they need to be, what they need to produce. Marcus Aurelius planned his mornings around character. Throughout the Meditations, the question he returns to is not, what will I do today, but who will I be today? Will I be patient with the people who frustrate me? Will I act from principle when it would be easier to act from impulse? Will I remember when someone is rude or unkind that they are suffering from ignorance rather than malice? He was setting what philosophers call a moral intention, a decision about the kind of person he would try to be before life gave him specific reasons to be otherwise. The morning is the only time of day when that intention can be set in genuine calm, before the pressures that test it have arrived. Once the pressures are already on you, the window for this kind of reflection has closed. You have the same 24 hours Marcus Aurelius had. You face, admittedly, different pressures, but the same human nature, the same tendency toward reactivity, the same pull of comfort and distraction, the same capacity for deliberate, reasoned choice. None of these 10 habits requires more than a few minutes. None requires special equipment or unusual circumstances. What they require is the decision, made each morning before anything else, that the way you begin your day is worth taking seriously. Marcus Aurelius believed that we are what we repeatedly do, that character is not revealed in the grand moments, but built in the ordinary ones, specifically in the ones that happen before the world has had a chance to decide for you who you are going to be today. The morning is yours. Use it first.